Greetings, Urban Scholar. I want to talk about healing. I think that's a real hot topic. Healing. A lot of people, adults, I'm talking people over 30, 40 years old, 50 years old, are still struggling with issues of healing. And for us mental health professionals, it's something that's easily seen because it plays out in your behaviors and actions. Because if you're 30, 40, 50 years old, right, and you still have a behavior pattern that reflects from when you were a teenager in your 20s, or using substance abuse, you had a drug issue, whether it was alcohol or whatever the case may be, like you tend to have certain behaviors. Also, for people who were living a certain life, right? Per se gangs. You might have been in college, doing the whole fraternity, sorority thing. You behaved a certain way when you was a certain age. If you're still behaving that way well into your 30s, 40s, 50s, I think it's safe to say that you have some areas that have been unaddressed. See, healing is something that's ongoing. However, you have to actually start. And some people try to hide behind their age, or they may use their past experiences to try to blame others for their current behaviors. And in their mind, it justifies the behaviors. In no book, in nowhere part of the world, does that type of logic make any sense. Every person who's an adult must take ownership of their behavior, of their current circumstances, their past, their present, and their future. Because let me tell you a secret, if you don't do that, I don't see anybody stepping up to the plate to do that for you. So that's the number one reason why taking ownership on your healing and addressing areas in your past that are currently plaguing you today is important, right? So how do you actually start to heal? I always tell people change can be a process or it can be an event, right? So what does that mean? It means some change is instant and some change is ongoing. And that really depends on the person and how they're wired. Everybody's wired differently, right? So it depends on what the scenario is. For instance, when I was young and I used to engage in certain behaviors where when I was a teenager, drinking and smoking, I did it by choice. It was more social. There, to me, was no addiction. And I was able to walk away from it literally overnight. And I mean literally overnight. So for the next person, they might need to go counseling. They might need some type of treatment options. Everybody's wired different. So you have to first learn who you are and how you're wired, right? So, but before that, once again, I'm going to say this. You need to learn to make the decision. And making a decision is really not as simple as it sounds. Because when you actually decide to do something, there's a resolve behind it that it doesn't matter what happens and what's going on with you, nothing's going to stop you from accomplishing that. And those are one of the things that's helped me in my plight. Second, you got to write down what you want. What does that mean? It means that if you actually want to heal and you want to accomplish certain things, you got to write down so you can look at it and see what it looks like. So you got to first be willing to open up to your own self, right? And then get with somebody, right? A skilled person, a professional. It could be a coach, it could be a therapist, or, it could be a person that you consider what we call a confidant that can kind of help you. But it got to be somebody that can help guide you along the process. You can't just be embarking upon healing, right? And it's miraculously you're just going to be healed, right? There's a process and there's a science behind everything that we do. But why this is important, those are the ingredients that's important. for you to get on your path of healing, because you got to be willing to go back in your timeline and say, this wasn't okay. This happened. I became this way. You got to be willing to go back and take a look, a real deep look. And you got to be honest with yourself. And you got to look at what it is that you see. And you have to start one by one addressing those areas and changing those circumstances that were what we call bad events that left negative impressions on you. You have to go back to those events and change the outcomes. Because some of us are haunted by tragic events, whether you were bullied, whether you were abused, whether you were incarcerated, whether you got jumped into a gang, whatever the case may be, you're dealing with some type of unresolved trauma, right? And as long as it's unresolved, you'll never really be able to get down to the bottom of what's going on with you or progress in a healthy manner. So that's why a coach is very important. So I'm not going to go too much more deeper into this subject, because I just want to address kind of like the nuts and bolts on what's important to actually get that process started. So for those adults who are struggling to heal, please contact a professional, right? Put your pride aside. Stop holding on to things, right? Reach out to somebody that you know that can help you. And get the help that you need. Follow the process, right? And then you'll start to see the results, because your lack of healing is ruining not only your life, it's ruining and affecting the lives of those whom you're around every day. How long do you plan on staying that way? How long do you plan on infecting and affecting people? It's not good, right? So get on the other side of healing, right? And I'll see you all at the top. Remember, the future's Urban Scholar.